Hey everyone, welcome to Our Small Footprint. My name is Nyssa, and if you're new here, we are a large family living off-grid in Australia. It is Sunday, and Sundays I normally do a chat video and a bake with me and things like that, and try and cover anything that I have missed during the week. But this month has been, like I want to say week, but it's the month. The whole month has been so all over the place. It is just crazy. Anyway, I did the grocery haul I did the groceries Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of last week, and then filmed it all Friday night, and it's now Sunday, and I still haven't even got the grocery video up yet because it poured rain all day yesterday. Like, the kitchen is still sopping wet. I've just gone through and wiped a whole lot of surfaces over that were wet. So life has just gotten a little bit, it was hard. But it's Sunday, so I'm going to go into a few bits and pieces, but I do need to do some baking today as well, or some cooking today as well, because part of the groceries were that I bought a bunch of bread and stuff that I'm going to turn into sandwiches and stuff for the freezer, and the other thing I was going to do was English muffins. Now, we have an overabundance of eggs at the moment. We just have lots of eggs, so we're going to do English muffins for the freezer, but I need to bake the English muffins for the kids. I bought some low carb ones for Darryl and I, but I'm going to bake some standard ones as well. So I'm going to start that dough up first, and then we're going to progress through the day as it goes. So I'm going to share all those things that I'm going to do. Now, I need to do the English muffins, but I also actually need to mince some pork up, because they just don't go far enough if I'm only putting bacon and eggs on them, to be honest. Like, they want to eat 2 or 3 of them instead of 1. Whereas if I make the sausage patties up as well, then it's a lot more filling. So I'm going to need to do sausage patties, as well as I'll cook the eggs in slabs. And I need to cook some bacon up and all the rest of it. So we're going to get started on getting the English muffin dough done first so it can proof, and then we'll go from there. But I'm also trying to film all the talk parts of the grocery haul as well today, so we shall see. Okay, so let's get the dough going first up. All right, I've got the kettle on to warm some water up because it's chilly, as always at the moment, and I may even do a double batch. I think my recipe here is already a double batch. I think maybe it's already a quadruple batch. I don't know, but I might do double my bulk recipe, because even if I don't fill them all, they can still be eaten over the next few days, but they can also go in the freezer empty for them to have even toasted with jam or peanut butter or whatever on them. And while I've got the freezer space, it might free me up a little bit if there's the option for these to be used. So I've got a 400 gram tin of coconut cream. You can use whatever milk product you like, but this was set up so that it would take the ratios were set up so that it was just a tin of coconut cream. So 400 gram tin of coconut cream, and then we're going to add the same amount of warm water when it warms up. We're going to use about 20 grams of yeast. I'm pretty sure this recipe's on the website. 20 grams of yeast. We're going to put some salt. We're going to put a little bit of sugar to help with that yeast, just like 20 to 40 grams. We're just trying to help that yeast do what it needs to do. And we're going to put some olive oil or butter in. What have I got under here at the moment? I've got some olive oil here, so I'll use that. And we're just going to use 80 grams. And let's see what the temperature of this water is. Yeah, that's sort of body temp. So now we'll put 400 grams of this in as well. And then we're just going to add the flour, which I have 1100 grams of flour. And then we'll need this batch. And as I said, I think I'll make a second one. So I'm going to go grab my big Canberra container out as well. And to put it in for proofing and get this going kneaded, and I'll do the whole thing again. You don't need to watch me do it again, and I'll get it all in the container. All right, second batch of dough done. So we're just going to put this in here as well. I'll probably put it in the oven with the pilot light on for the moment until I need the oven. which will keep it a little bit warmer, though it's not too bad today. It's cool, but it's not too bad. But I do want to get this done fairly quickly because I cook my English muffins on the stovetop. Yes, I could do them in the oven, but I really like the texture of them done on the stovetop, that they just get that better crispy exterior that they just don't quite get in the oven. So we've got double batch of dough there. Lid on it, stick it in the oven with the pilot light on, and then move on to the next task towards these, which is probably going to be the pork. I probably need to pull the pork out and cut it up. Get that sorted to be minced. It's going to be a long-winded thing because I'm trying to do it all in one day, but I want to get it done. I want to get it in the freezer and out of the way. So, all right, now I think I'm going to mince the whole thing because I want to make all those gyoza and stuff too. Worst comes to worst, the mince can go in the freezer and I can pull it out to make the gyoza later in the month. But otherwise, maybe I can get it done in the next couple of days. I'm not real sure, but I don't want to roast any of this at the moment because I've got another whole one in the fridge for a start, but we also have some pork belly that needs using and things like that need using before this. I've got lettuce in there, so I need to do some hamburgers for dinner in the next couple of nights, things like that. So the roast, it would be a waste to do it right now. So I might cut it all up to use for mincing. Now, I probably won't cook any potatoes today either. Normally I would use the rind over potatoes to bake, but I think I'm going to put the rind in the freezer to do that later on in the month because, as I said, I've got that pork belly to cook, so I might cook pork belly for dinner tonight, and if I do that, I do potatoes with the pork belly anyway. And then we'll do some grilled broccoli and stuff with that, I think. So I think I'm just going to dice this all up in the right size for the mincer for this particular day. I think that's just going to be the easiest thing to do for the moment. I've got too much, that I'm trying to get done, and I want to try and simplify some of the options. So I'm just going to cut it into chunks. I'm going to take the rind off in sheets, and it can be frozen in a Ziploc bag in sheets. It defrosts really quickly and then can be sliced up to cook over potatoes. And just, I think that's going to be the best option for today. So all I'm going to do is we want to leave some fat on the rind for the potatoes, but because I'm mincing this, I want to leave a fair bit of fat on the meat as well. So we're going to make sure to leave some behind. This bit here isn't particularly fatty. There's always a bit one end of the pork that's less fatty than the other, obviously because of the way the legs rolled or whatever. I'm not entirely sure, but it always seems to be the way. So there always seems to be a much leaner side of these roasts and a fattier side. I think I need to sharpen my knife. I'll do that in a sec. I'll get this sheet off, put that aside. And then we will just dice this up. So all I'm going to do is dice it into pieces that are the right size for the mincer and stick them in a bowl for the moment. And then once I get this little chunk done, I'm going to go and sharpen my knife. My hands are really unhappy with me again, or still, whichever way you want to look at it. Inflammation's really bad. But something I was going to say too is that one of the things, I don't know if other people struggle with it as well, but one of the things, a nice sharp knife helps. It's like knitting and crocheting. Like I really like to knit, crochet, sew, that sort of thing, and my hands don't enjoy that as much as my brain does. And one of the things about when the inflammation is bad and everything's playing up is being aware of the grip. So a lot of the problems that I have are inflammation, carpal tunnel, whatever. And so what hurt is the gripping. So it's the pincer grip that's the really big issue. So when doing things like this, what you need to do, like knitting and crocheting and stuff, is really concentrate on relaxing your grip. So you want to hold it firmly because you don't want to cut yourself, but you don't want to, you need to not grip it hard, which having, as I said, having a sharp knife helps that. But you have to concentrate on relaxing your grip and allowing the knife to do the work, or the knitting needles, the movement of the knitting needles or the crochet hook and things like that, so that you're not holding too tightly. Does that make sense? But for anyone who has similar issues to me and hasn't discovered that, I just thought I'd mention it. That's what I found the easiest thing to try and get through. So like at this point of this pork, I'm really struggling. There's a lot of pain related. So I have to be very mindful about trying to relax my grip on my knife and on the pork and stuff, so that I'm holding it firmly, but I'm not tensing all those muscles. And that makes it a lot easier to tolerate. The pain becomes a lot less. But my right hand struggles because of holding the knife, and my left hand struggles because it has to hold what it is that I'm cutting. So I have problems with both. And that doesn't, it's not great. But I just wanted to mention it because it was something that I discovered, and it's one of those things. You sit there and you mention it to other people and they go, oh, I never really thought about that. And you sort of think, well, I never really thought about sharing it either. So I just thought I would while I'm finishing this up. So this is the rest of the pork. Now I am trying to figure out the 2 batches of English muffin dough. It's about 4 kilos of dough, which means that we get about 50 odd English muffins if we do them at, say, the 90 gram mark. And each of these patties, if we do these at the 75 to 90 gram mark, then we also need 3.5, 4 kilos. This was probably a 7 kilo roast, so probably about half of this. So I'm going to weigh out, I'm going to see what it is, because obviously the rind comes off, which reduces the weight, and see what I've got here. And maybe leave 3 kilos aside for the gyoza, and whatever's left should be around about the 3.5 to 4 kilos. That should be enough to make enough patties for all those English muffins. But I am doing English muffins for Darryl and I as well. But as I said, they can be frozen for them to use with peanut butter and jam and stuff too, even if I don't have enough patties, or some can be just egg and bacon, not patty. So we'll see how we go. But I'm going to put the rind in the freezer, weigh out some of this, put some in the fridge I need to split it in half so that I can put the breakfast sausage seasoning on the ones that I'm going to mince for this, and then the other half will go in the fridge. All right, so I've got just over 4 kilos of pork here, which I will do the breakfast seasoning with. I've got this 2 kilos here that has nothing on it. I might mince it today anyway, we'll see. But anyway, I'm going to stick these in the fridge for the moment and work on this. And just, get that done first, because this is more important right this minute. The rind I'll put in the freezer, and the pork I'll put in the fridge for the moment. Now, I've been really slack with labeling my jars lately, but I'm pretty positive this is breakfast sausage seasoning because it has all the green leafy in it, the sage and stuff, and I don't use that in much else. And honestly, whether it is or it isn't, it'll still taste good. So, ratio-wise, let me think. 40 grams per kilo-ish is what the ratio ends up being. I've done the breakfast sausage seasoning. I'm pretty sure it's on the website as well. I should have checked my own website, shouldn't I? But by my notes, it was 40 grams per kilo-ish. So we want around about 160 grams for the 4 kilos, which theoretically will be whatever's left here, because it would have been, so 160 grams to the 4 kilos. So we'll do that. And then I'm going to massage this through around the meat, and then I will mince it with the spice mix on it. And then it'll go through the mincer as well with all these spices on it, which is why I should probably mince that other pork first if I'm going to. And then I'll just season it afterwards. But anyway, we're going to get the seasoning mix on this and let it sit for 15 minutes in the fridge while I clean up and get prepped for the next step. So coat that meat nicely, refrigerate it for a little bit, because the mincer works better with the mince is really nice and cold, with the beef, pork, whatever you're mincing is really nice and cold. All right, English muffin dough is doubled. We're going to let it do an extra little bit of a rise, so it doesn't need to be massive. Now you can roll this out and cut it, and what I used to do is roll it out and cut it into squares just to make life easier, but what I've actually decided I prefer is to shape it into rounds. I prefer the way they come out. I don't know, it's just something that I do. And I suppose because I'm good with dough, it doesn't take a huge amount of time for me to do that, so I prefer to do it. Up to you how you want to do what you want to do with your English muffin dough, but for me that's what I'm going to do. Now it possibly could proof a little bit longer, but I'm going to second proof it, so I'm okay with it. It's pretty fluffy, so we're doing all right. All right, now size wise, I do anywhere from 75 to 90 grams. Like, the kids like to eat more than one, as most children do. They feel like they're getting more if they eat two, even if they're smaller. So I might go 80 grams. Let's have a look at the shape. So all I'm going to do is, like I do my hamburger buns, basically. I'm using semolina because we want that crispy external, and that's all I'm going to do. And I'm just going to coat them nicely with the semolina and place them on the tray. And I think I'm just going to go the 80 grams. I would prefer less bread with more filling, so by doing the 80 grams, that's what we're getting. So then they can have two of them if they want, but the filling to bread ratio is going to be higher, so I just prefer it that way, each to their own. So all I'm doing is shaping them, very gently shaping them, and then I'm going to roll them liberally in the semolina, and then we're going to let them proof again. And I'm going to let them proof fairly solidly because obviously I've been a little bit quick off the mark getting this done, but I just want to get them on the trays proofing, then I need to go and edit the other video. So and then I'll come back, and while they're baking, while I'm doing the process of cooking them, I'll mince the pork, I think. I also need to do the eggs as well. I'm going to do just like sheet pan eggs, so I'm just going to do a dozen eggs with a little bit of coconut cream whipped up in the Thermomix, I think, make them just the really fluffy sheet pan eggs rather than cooking them singly. I think that's going to be the plan. So we're just going to go through this now, because everyone loves watching me working with dough. Let me talk while I'm doing this so that everyone gets that opportunity. So I just finished filming the grocery video, which I have been really slack on doing, and I mentioned the trailer issues and things like that. So I'm still debating what I want to do there. I don't think that turning the current trailer into a cold room trailer is going to be the most efficient way to spend time or money. I just don't think it's going to work for us. So that trailer needs to just continue to be used for what it mostly gets used for, which is hauling hay and hauling rubbish and things like that. That was the other thing I mentioned, the bins. So we don't get a rubbish collection here, but what we do have is some community bins that are about 10 minutes away. It's a set of 4 or 6 skip bins, and we have access to those because we're residents. Now they're taking them away. The reasoning that they're saying that they're taken away is because people abuse them, which is true to a degree. People dump stuff there that they shouldn't, that they should be taking to the tip. Now, it sucks and they shouldn't do it, but everyone's being punished for that. So what they're doing is they are taking those bins away. They're increasing the amount of time that the tip is open, because the tip only used to be open like 3 times a week, which was always really challenging. But the tip is about 40 minutes away from us, so it's not the easiest thing in the world. We try not to create much rubbish. We try, but there's a lot of us, and we buy stuff. Like, it's really hard. Everything that you buy comes in packaging. And when you're buying food and stuff, what I always complain about the fact that sometimes I have to buy like 10, 400 gram, like the popcorn, I was having to buy in 400 gram lots because that was the cheapest way to buy it. And no one else sold it in bulk for any sort of similar sort of a price, which meant that we had all that packaging for all those 400 gram, because I would buy 10 of them a month. I did find some 1 kilo bags this month, but it's irrelevant. There's a lot of things like that happen. So we still build up the rubbish. Now we don't put food rubbish in our standard rubbish because we have plenty of animals and we have compost and things like that. But we do have food packaging, like the trays that meat and stuff comes in. Of course we wash it and everything, but at the same time we're not, disinfecting it as such. We're just giving it a rinse, and it just, yeah. Anyway, so we have a build-up of rubbish. That's what the trailer is currently covered in. I think you probably would have been able to see out of the corner of the camera when I was showing the car. And we need to get that to the tip this week is the plan. But yeah, so if we were to turn that trailer into a cauldron, we'd no longer have a hay hauler, which would be an issue. And we would have problems with the rubbish, especially if the Ranger is not repairable. So the Ranger should be going in to be repaired this week, and we will find out how much the cost is for repairing and what's worth doing and what's not. But yeah, so we're going to sort that out. So trailer wise, I think the need is to invest in an enclosed trailer that's separate to the current trailer that we have, which is, pros and cons. There's an added registration, not that registration for trailers is that expensive, but maintenance and upkeep and stuff as well, storage, all those things. It wasn't on the cards, but I think it's going to need to be. So I'm still looking for that, which will make the shopping easier though. Because using the current trailer is really, really challenging. No sides, no back. You have to use the crates on there because you can't stack anything on the floor of the trailer. You have to be really careful that everything's netted and tied down properly because things just slide off. It's not ideal. But yeah, so that. What else was I've rambled off. I've already squirreled and I don't even know where I was going from that point. So the groceries were a bit of a challenge, and I'm not sure how long they're going to last. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do in regards to when I'm going to go back, or whether I'm going to do another bulk meat order, or I don't know what's going to happen. We're just going to have to fly by the seat of our pants a little bit with that one. I will have to assess what we've got left as we go, and time and all the rest of it. So we will just see, and I'll keep you updated as I go. Other than that, Sunday chats. What else is... So the week was mostly taken up with all of that crap. And then it rained all day yesterday. Like, it was just bucketing down all day yesterday. Darryl rigged together some shelter for the dogs and stuff, because Lamington is in what used to be the dog shelter and she doesn't like sharing. Because it bucketed down. All our turkeys survived, so we've still got 10 baby turkeys, and the other turkey is still on her nest even after all that. So I hope she gets some babies out of that. She's put a lot of work in hatching those eggs. In regards to the chicken pens, that was one of the projects that's supposed to be happening this winter, and Darryl has been at fixing up the posts and we're trying to get it sorted, getting the roofing redone and things like that. I was talking to him yesterday. I think I'm going to get Sonnet to do some painted signs for every pen so that I can name the pens, because when I do the breeding, I do mark the eggs and collect the eggs based on which roosters and hens and what breeds are in the pens and things like that when I do the breeding over spring and stuff. And it would be handy to have the pens named. So we're going to go and make some signs for all the pens. So I'll share that with you when we get that sorted, and as we get the pens cleaned up and rearranged a little bit. At the moment, there's just a few that have the shade cloth from the roof is falling in a bit, or the doors need replacing. There's one that has the litter has gotten so deep that the gate doesn't open properly, that we need to repair. But we also need more hay. So, the chicken pens are in progress again as well, but there's a lot going on as per normal in my household. But that's sort of on the cards. The kitchen roof, I know, the kitchen roof badly needs doing. It's just one of those jobs that we're just not exactly sure how to do on our own. There's a lot of things that we manage to just squeak through and do on our own and make it work. And there's some things that really we probably shouldn't be doing on our own, and it's hard. The kitchen roof's a hard one too, because it's basically in the yard. and our dogs don't like people. So that always makes it challenging to have people here helping with things that are somewhat in their space. But yeah, kitchen roof needs doing. I know. What else? I'm going to leave that there for the moment. I'll have a think if there's anything else I want to share. So I've finished this part of the dough. I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to load all these trays up and let them do their second proof. All right, so my quick calculations were correct. I ended up with 50 of them at 80 grams. So now they just have to be cooked off. They puff up a whole lot more in the pan, so they don't need to sit for very long. So these are pretty much ready to go. I have so much I should be getting done, that other video and everything else, but these are ready to go. I don't want them to go to waste, and they need to be done, and so we're just going to do them. Just going to get started. So I need to set up the stove in a way that I can do it, and then we will get moving. All right, so what I've got here is 3 cast iron pans heating up. I'm going to use all 3 at the same time. I've got a round one at the back and 2 square ones because that just happens to be what I have. A viewer sent me a couple of square lids a while back, and they are amazing, except that one of them was all glass and one of the children broke it, which was really sad. But they don't need to seal completely. They're just going to hold some of the steam in. So this round one on the square pan works out okay. So we're just going to get these warmed up. Now, the English muffins take around about 6 minutes per side. So we stick them in, lid on, about 6 minutes, and then flip. But like I always say, like pancakes and stuff, sometimes the first lot get too dark. Sometimes the pans get a bit hot. You just have to, adjust as you go. But they take around about 6 minutes each side to make sure that they're cooked all the way through. You can put them just in a pan for like 30 seconds each side to get that nice color on them, and then stick them in the oven to finish baking. But I much prefer them just completely done on the stovetop. And I just don't find it that much longer, not really. When you're putting them in and flipping them and then putting them in the oven anyway, you've got to wait till you've done them all before you stick them in the oven. And I find this just as convenient, and I prefer the texture of them. So all I do is I'm warming these pans up, and then I'm just going to start placing them on the pans as they heat up. So just going to place, say, it's hard sometimes because they do expand a bit, and so flipping them can be a challenge, but they hold their shape pretty well, and the more I get on at a time, the quicker it is. So I'm going to try 9 in these square ones, put them in like that, put the lid on, and then I normally set a timer on my phone, but I haven't got it set up yet, so it's 11:41, so we got 6 minutes approximately on that. The first lot, always you have to judge a little bit because the pan may not be fully warmed and all that sort of thing. So again, going to put 9 in here, and we'll see how we go. And then we're going to get through them nice and quick, just like that. Lid on, same deal, except we've got a round pan. So we'll see how many fit on this one. Put 7 on that one. So, 9, 18, 25 at a time. It only takes 2 goes for all 50. That's not bad at all. So 6 minutes, I'll bring you back. All right, so let's check them. It's been 5, and there's a slight, burn smell, which could just be the bits of fat left on the pan. So we're just going to check, especially the ones in the middle of the pan, and flip them. These look perfect. So you probably can't see this one right here, but you'll see the ones that I turn in the pan in front. So we're just going to gently flip them and then put the lid back on and keep the timer going for another 5 or 6 minutes. As I said, crowding them in the pan like this, you want to flip them really nice and carefully so you don't deflate them, and it does make it a bit harder. I am going to turn the pans down to sort of a medium low as well. But these are looking absolutely gorgeous, which is always nice. Go to that much effort, you want them to look good. All right, so let's see if we've got the same here. Yep, so they're just starting to get a little too brown in certain spots, so we need to flip them. Oh, the top of this pan is obviously heating a bit faster than anywhere else. They're not burnt, and the bottom ones are looking very anemic. So yeah, obviously this pan is heating a little bit unevenly, which is fine. We will take that into account when we declare them done. But how good do they look? So pan's turned down a little bit, put them back in, lid on, move on to the last ones to flip. There we go, all flipped nicely, all looking really, really good. And we'll give them another 5 minutes. Right, the last batch is just finishing the last few minutes. I'm going to turn the heat right down, and then now I'm going to do the pork. So the pork's been sitting there in its seasoning. I've got the Louvel mincer, which is, I mention all the time, there is an affiliate code for Louvel in my description, but it's a low power usage, high powered mincer. Takes about a minute per kilo, and it works really well on our solar. I'm really happy with this one, and I use it all the time. So we're going to just mince the pork through. Let me try and get you situated so that you can see. And we'll get this going. That's all that pork done. Now the beauty of the Louvel too is the fact that all the pieces just come apart. So this just gets wiped down and put away, and everything else is here in this piece. I'll pull the mince off this and we'll cook that up as well, that's left behind. But all the main mince is done, so now I can wipe this over, put it away, and all this can go to be washed. 50 English muffins, they're all done and sitting here. We've got the mince that I've got to shape, but we're also going to do eggs. So I got Sonnet to crack some eggs for me, and I've got 18 eggs with about a quarter of a tin of coconut cream in there. I'm going to add some salt and pepper. I'm going to blitz these up, and then I'm going to pour it in the baking tray and bake them, and we'll cut them up to go onto the English muffins. I did 18 for the cast iron dish. We'll see how it spreads out and how thick it is, but we'll give that a go. So I'm just going to mix this up and then I'll pour it in. All right, so this is the new Aldi cast iron baking tray. I only ended up buying one because I have quite a few cast iron baking trays, but I'm regretting it now because it's really nice. But anyway, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to gently grease it. All right, and then I've got the 18 eggs with the quarter cup of coconut cream, quarter of a tin of coconut cream with some salt and pepper. And I'm going to pour that all in, and I'm going to bake it for about 15 minutes at about 175, and then we'll cut it into squares. We'll see how it goes and whether that's the right timing. All right, I'm going to get the pans turned back on, sprayed with a little bit of oil, and we'll start on the sausage patties. So all I'm going to do is weigh out about, you can do about the 80 grams, the same as the buns, and just squish them into patties on the pans basically, and then we'll just cook all these off and use them as needed. So I just want to make sure that it's emulsified a little bit but not too much, so that we get good texture. And all I'm going to do is push them into a pan just like that and fry them all off. So we're just cooking them off just like this, same as the English muffins, about 9 to a pan, and I'm just going to keep on cooking through them as I go. Nice hot pan, no fat in the pan because the pork has enough on its own, but it caramelizes that little bit of sugar that's in the breakfast sausage seasoning too, and gives that little bit of a crust on the outside, and ends up very tasty. So we're just going to keep on going with them until I've gone through all the mince. Cooking up some bacon now. This is the first lot of eggs out. It's new sort of a test in this oven. It took a lot longer than I expected it to take, and it's stuck quite badly, but it will work for what we want. So I'm just going to get this out, and I'm going to cut it up into say 12, and then I'm going to get another batch going. All right, the kids have already had the first lot, so all I'm doing is making up some more. If they want another one, they can have it, but otherwise it can these can start going in the freezer. I don't really have enough bacon to put bacon on all of them because I didn't pull it out of the freezer. And so there's some that's frozen, but they can always just be some sausage and egg ones anyway. So all I'm doing is that. They can add some sauce if they want, but I'm just opening them up and then putting some egg, sausage patty, and a bit of bacon. And then I'm going to wrap them up and stick them in the freezer, which I'll do afterwards. But we're also cooking some for us to eat now, so I will eat before I come back and finish it. But this is the plan for these anyway, is to just get them like this. All right, so everyone's had 2 to eat, and now I have mine there to eat, which I will do, but I need to get some of these sorted. So we've got the low carb English muffins as well for Darryl. So we're doing 2 patties with egg and bacon and cheese and stuff, so that he just has 1 of these low carb patties with the double the toppings on them as his breakfast. The kids all sort of had 2 of these, which is fine. They're there to eat. And now I just have to decide how I want to wrap them. I used to have some waxed paper, which would have worked quite well, like that you'd use in like a canteen or whatever. I'm thinking that ideally they probably need to go in some baking paper and then in some foil, because they're probably going to be heated in the oven, and then potentially toasted if that's what they want afterwards. So like if I think I only end up with 1 patty on this one, 2 patties on this one. So if I wrap them just like that, and then so we toast all these off in the bacon fat a little bit. I don't even know if you can see what I'm doing. I think you've got the camera angle a bit off because I have just run out of space. So we've got that one there, and then if it just gets foil wrapped like that, then there we go. We've got 1 double-decker, low-carb English muffin, bacon, egg, and all that set up so Darryl can grab that straight out of the freezer, stick it in the oven for, say, 15 minutes to defrost and warm through, and then toast it on the Jaffle maker if that's what he wants. So that's what I'm going to try and do with everything that's left. Get them all wrapped up like that and get them put away. But I might eat mine first and then I'll come back and do it. So what I've done is I've created an alternating pile here. So I'm going to wrap in the baking paper first, and then the foil, like that, and we're going to be good to go. And then I can stick a bunch of these in a Ziploc bag, and that way I'm not using the plastic. With the lack of the bin factor now, I am going to try out a few things to try and make us sort our rubbish a little bit better so that we can try and have a bit better control of it. So foil is recyclable so long as you it's in balls that are big enough for the machines to see. It doesn't just go through them. So we'll see, but I might look at, I don't like the compostable baking paper for actually baking with because it just doesn't work very well, but for this sort of thing it would work really well. So I think that's the other thing too, is I'll get the compostable baking paper for things like this, and then that way it can go in the compost after they've had the buns and stuff. But it doesn't need to go, it's not for baking purposes. So I think that will work quite well. So I will streamline it a little bit, but for the moment this is going to work. So I'm just going to do this for all of them, as many as I get around to doing. I've got another tray of eggs in the oven, so I'll do egg and sausage patty because we're short on bacon, and I'll just get them all up for the freezer. All right, so I'm almost done. I've run out of egg, but I'm not cooking anymore at the moment. And all I'm doing with some of these, I ran out of bacon with some of the kids' ones as well. And all that it means is that if they want that when they go to eat it, then they can do that. I just want to get them all in the freezer so that they are good for long term. So all I'm doing at the moment is putting 2 patties and a bit of cheese and sauce on the last of these low carb ones. And again, he can fry some eggs off or something if that's what he wants at the time, just to get them in the freezer. Though I think I'm down to 1 patty left and no bacon and no cheese sliced, but a little bit of egg, but we're down to not much. And then the rest of the English muffins that are here for the kids, I'll just put in a container and they can have them over the next couple of days and get into the freezer stash afterwards. So I've ended up with, that's a bag of 4 low carb, and we've got the 3 left here, which I will put in a bag, and then I've got 6, 12 and 18 made up to go in the freezer for the kids, and then some excess. So, you know, we'll see. It depends on how they, like if they go to the effort of eating them and stuff, I'll do it more often, but it's a lot of work if they're not going to eat it. So we will see how they accept it. Sonnet wants to show you Sinatra, though we did see Sinatra the other day because someone handed him to me while I was talking. He's not being very camera. So yes, I'm going to get these all put away and then I'll come back. All right, so all of those are put in the freezer. We've got a container full of English muffins left that the kids can have tomorrow, tonight, whatever we have, and a spare. We did just have, Darryl and I just had this discussion about a short or a meme or something that's going around about how the ones that don't fit in the container don't contain any calories. So, you know, but I might have this with a bit of butter and jam just as a treat because it's extra. So we ended up with, 10 of the low carb ones in the freezer for Darryl and 18 of the standard ones. I probably won't eat them out of the freezer. I'm a little fussy with leftovers and reheated food, and I try not to be, but I am. And so I'm better off just not and just letting them have it and just having fresh fried eggs and toast or something. Like, it is the way it is. I'm self-aware enough to know that I probably won't eat them, but the kids and Darryl should, and that's the idea of it, is for their benefit, not mine. So they're all done. I can't think of anything else that I needed to discuss. We mentioned the trailer. I'm still looking, you know, the idea of a refrigerated trailer is still there, but I just don't think I want to spend that much money. So I'm looking more at like a builder's trailer or something like that, and I'll figure it out before the next trip. I don't know when the next trip is. We'll, you know, see how we go. In regards to getting videos out, this month has been shocking. I've probably only earned 60% of my normal income on YouTube because I just haven't got videos out. The kids' school holidays and everything else, there's been a lot of different things that have just seemed to have made things difficult. So we'll see how we go this month, and I will try and do better. In YouTube world, the best earning months of the year are like September through December because they're in the lead up to Christmas. So getting myself sorted before then would be a good idea, but you know, we'll see. And just figuring out our new normal with one less kid here, the kids doing the distance ed, me taking on some more things for myself, like the 3D printing and figuring out, you know, the 3D modeling and all that sort of stuff. That all takes time away from being in the kitchen. And that's not a bad thing. It's just a new season of, you know, things, but we still want cooked meals for just about every meal. So it's a matter of figuring that out. So like we've got doing today, that was like a 6-hour job getting all of those English muffins done, but that's multiple meals done and they're still home cooked, fresh, hot meals for the kids to have. And that's the point. So some of my stuff is going to be more that way inclined, I think, more in bulk. Now that we've got that extra freezer, we can do a little bit more like that. Some more canning of meals or parts of meals. And I still have to do the dehydrated mixes up for the soup mix. And what I might do is I might adapt some for the noodle mix as well. So they can I'll still use a bit of the Vegeta in it because that's the flavor of, you know, MSG driven instant noodle type flavoring. But we might look at getting some veggies mixed in with that as well that are gonna go in the broth. I was thinking too, we've got a whole lot of the shelling peas the kids have been eating, but there's a whole lot left, and I was wondering if maybe I should shell a bunch and dehydrate them and maybe they could go in the noodles as well. That'd be pretty tasty, but we'll see. I can't use the dehydrator at the moment. We've had such bad weather and it's overcast again today, so it might be a couple of days before I can even use it again, and we'll see how we go. I could freeze them and then dehydrate them from frozen though, mind you. So I might have to sit there and shell them tomorrow though, because otherwise they'll go bad. So it's 2:15 if I'm going to do pork belly for dinner. I have to start it in like an hour. So for an hour, I'm going to go inside. I'm going to try and get these videos sorted so I'm not up all night doing it. And yeah, so I'll talk to you in the comments, I suppose. And we'll just figure it out as we go along together, as per normal, as is the way my life works. So thanks for joining me again, guys, and I will see you on the next video.